So according to Ernest Martinez in an article posted on November 12, 2009, the lyrics of regional Mexican music touch upon social issues in Mexico as well as social issues within the Mexican immigrant community here in the United States. This is a CD of one of my favorite regional Mexican music artists. It's a group, they're called Banda Recodo, and this album is called Haciendo Historia, which in English translates into Making History. Their music represents the regional Mexican music culture and also represents my involvement within the regional Mexican music culture because they're the reason that I became involved with the culture. Mexican music consists of many genres, but the regional Mexican is the one that I enjoy the most and that I identify closely with. First, I'll talk about, give a little bit of background on Banda Recodo and how their music represents the culture, and then I will talk about how I identify with the culture and how I integrate the values that I've learned from it into my everyday life. Regional Mexican music can be traced back to the golden age of Mexican cinema, which began in the 1930s. This particular album came out last year, but the group's formation took place in 1937 by a man named Cruz Lizarraga. They began as a purely instrumental group that performed for Mexican high society and also at dance events, which in Mexico are known as bailes. In the 1980s, once vocalists were added, their popularity migrated into the United States. The genre that they belong to represents the different aspects of the regional Mexican culture, which can be found in clubs that cater to regional Mexican music fans and also at regional Mexican concerts. The values that I've learned from this culture are fun, friendship, rhythm, awareness, and appreciation. So I talked a little bit about how their music represents the culture, and now I will talk about how I identify with the culture and how I integrate the values into my life. I identify with this culture because it makes me feel like I belong, and also because it brings me closer to my Mexican heritage. I didn't always like this type of music. When I was little, I used to associate this with having to do chores because when I would wake up, I would hear my mom playing this in the kitchen, and I'd be like, oh, it's time to clean. So I didn't start liking it until 2008 after a trip to Mexico, where I spent the majority of my time with my cousins, and they took me to a bunch of bailes, and then they introduced me to the music. So, but then once I came back to the United States, I didn't really know anyone who liked this type of music until one of my best friends started to like it as well. So we went to my first Banda Recodo concert together. That concert, I see that concert kind of like my inauguration into the culture because it was the first time that I was exposed to it on my own with, without family members or all that stuff. From then on, I was hooked, and once I turned 18, I started going to regional Mexican music clubs, and I made many friends. The values that I've learned from this culture, I integrate them into my life. Well, fun. The music is kind of like a stress reliever, and also going clubbing. It's also a very big stress reliever. Friendship, through the friends that I've made by attending these clubs. Rhythm, from the dancing style that comes with this music. It's very important in my circle of family and friends. So that's a value. Awareness, because as I mentioned before, these lyrics often touch upon social issues in Mexico. So if I hear a song talk about it, it reminds me that I should keep in touch with family members in Mexico and research what's going on over there. And also appreciation for my Mexican heritage. For the Mexican heritage that this music comes from and that I also come from as well. So to sum it all up, I identify closely with the regional Mexican music culture, and it's the genre that I identify the most with from all the Mexican music. I spoke about Banda Recodo and how their music represents the culture and how I came to identify with it. So this culture is actually quite big in Southern California. It's an exciting part of the Latin entertainment industry that is quickly rising in popularity and gaining notice in Hollywood.